on Equinox Television, the World Football Governing Body, FIFA, has this afternoon suspended the Cameroonian football team from all international competitions till further notice. And also we take you to the northwest region of the country to take a look at the dilapidated state of the Bamenda Ekok road, where inhabitants or users of the said highway are saying that movements have so far been impeded due to the extreme bad state of the roads. These are major headlines, details and more just in a moment. Good evening to you viewers. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. We begin right away in sports football. FIFA has today suspended the Cameroonian football team from all international competitions. The World Football Governing Body based its ban on Article 13 and 17 of the FIFA of the World Football Governing Body, like I earlier indicated, which is demanding all national football associations to run their affairs independently without any external influence. FIFA, in the said decision dated today, called on FECAFOOT to review its status and reorganize elections before the 31st of March 2014. The ban would only be uplifted if all the necessary conditions as stated by the World Football Governing Body are respected by Cameroon or the Cameroonian Football Federation. And so far, Cameroon cannot take part in regional, continental as well as international football competitions. We surely shall be coming back to that in our subsequent newscast. And now we take you in news out of Cameroon, precisely in Egypt, where the Chief Justice of the Egyptian Constitutional Court has pledged to uphold the interests of the entire population and also put in place the rule of law. And General Abdel Fattah was speaking as he was put in place, or as he took over office as interim president of Egypt following days of unrest. Details in the following report with Forhansin Chanji.
Anti-protesters in Cairo's Tahrir Square gave out a huge cheer in response to the army's proclamation. The move follows 4 days of mass street protests against Mohamed Morsi and an ultimatum given by the military which expired Wednesday. Television stations belonging to Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood went off air at the end of the proclamation.
The head of the Constitutional Court shall give oath before all the parties of the court.
After General Sisi's address, both the Pope, head of the Coptic Church, and leading opposition figure Mohamed El Baradi made short speeches. Mohamed Morsi's downfall can be attributed to a chain of events in his first year in office. The depth of the rift is reflected by the country's media. 12 months into power, both Morsi's supporters and opposition have been using TV, the radio and newspapers as tools to settle scores. Analysts have been quick to say the military intervention and overthrow of Morsi is due to their strained relationship. In August 2012, Mohamed Morsi dismissed Defense Minister, stripped military of saying legislation and drafting of constitution. In November that same year, President Mohamed Morsi issued a controversial constitution granting himself extensive powers written by Islamist dominant panel. In December 2012, there was a controversial public vote approving the draft constitution, boosting the role of Islam and restricting freedom of speech and assembly. The last nail on the coffin was in June 2013 when Morsi kept Islamists in charge of 13 of Egypt's 27 governorships and controversially appointing a member of the former armed group Gamma Islamiyah to be governor of Luxor. With Morsi no longer in power and his whereabouts not known, his supporters may be coming back to showcase a counter-protest, and this will just put Egypt in a state of quagmire.
Here in the economic capital, Douala, traditional rulers in Vuri have called on the government to explain why the construction of a second bridge over the Vuri River has so far been delayed. The chiefs have expressed dissatisfaction on the fact that the project that was set to be earmarked by the government is yet to be fulfilled. Forhansin Chanji tells us in the following report that the worries of the Vuri chiefs is coming at a time when the Tribune, which was located few meters from the Vuri River, has been brought down under unclear circumstances. His report.
The commencement of the construction of a second bridge over River Wuri is far from being a reality, and inhabitants become more worried with the recent disappearance of the tribune that was being speculated to host dignitaries during inauguration of the second bridge. Fears have heightened and hopes shattered on the realization of the project. In a recent release signed by traditional rulers of Wuri, one of the issues raised concerned the construction of the second bridge. The chiefs are demanding the government to explain to the people why construction work has not commenced, even though they have reassured the people that the situation is under control. They want action.
We need information, we need explanation, and we also will carry them to our people to tell them that the situation is on control. But
despite assurance by the head of state that the construction of the bridge will come to reality, it is still far-fetched.
Days are going and we are not seeing anything. So we want it to be a reality because it's one of great achievements. You know that we are awaiting achievements. So that one concerning the Wuri has to also be realized.
Traditional rulers in Wuri say ever since the promise to construct a second bridge in River Wuri was made, nothing has been done to that effect. They have therefore called on the powers that be to explain concretely why the construction of the bridge is being delayed. With the increase of population and daily activities, traffic congestion has been recurrent in the Lone Bridge over River Wuri, with vehicles stationed for hours.
For Hansen Chanji, they're reporting maritime plans are on the way to develop the Left Bank Maritime Project in Limbe Southwest region of the country. This follows an accord that was signed between Cameroon and Morocco as a Moroccan delegation visited some tourist site in that part of the country. Our Limbe-based correspondent Davison Maimo tells us more in the following report.
The Cameroon delegation that received the Moroccan delegation at the Mongo Bridge is proof of the importance of the visit. The over 11 mayors from different cities and towns in Morocco were given a tour to some of the touristic sites in the city of Limbe, showcasing the rich potentials that Limbe and Cameroon at large has. From the graves of some soldiers who fought during the Second World War at the Limbe Botanic Gardens to the zoological center that served as a sanctuary for some endangered species, certainly the visitors had a memorable time. In a working session at the Limbe City Council Hall, a memorandum is signed between the Limbe City Council and Agadir, a major port town in Morocco. The Cameroon delegation, headed by the senior divisional officer of FACO, equally witnessed the presence of the director of the National Oil Refinery Sonora, Taba Mala.
One of the main objectives of this visit is to see how the Limbe City Council can better train with councils in Morocco for the development of the Left Bank Maritime Project here in the city of Limbe. In fact, the delegation is very heavy, and from every indication, we are expecting positive results after the visit of this delegation from Morocco. Let me see Maimo, Equinox TV in Limbe.
Thanks indeed, Davison Maimo, for that report from Limbe. From Limbe, we take you to Bamenda, northwest region of the country, to talk about users of the Bamenda-Manfi road who have expressed satisfaction over the tarring of the road, which had for some months back been a veritable nightmare for them. And they say they used to spend 2 days and even more on the Manfi-Bamenda highway due to its extremely bad state. And commuters have also said that they can now cover the over 126-kilometer distance in 5 hours and even less following the construction of the said highway. Transportation costs has as well witnessed a drastic drop. Let's now have the reaction of some of the commuters of the Bamenda-Manfi highway. They spoke to our reporter Ginny Edmond in Bamenda, northwest region of the country.
We are changing lot of things. We have a big difference. We take now 2 hours from Bamenda to Manfi. So we used to be a day, 2 days from Bamenda to Manfi.
For the past years, we had such disturbances, but I see for now the government is doing something possible that the road should be realized the way we want it to be. Because for the past 3 years, the work there is improving. They are doing something good for the corporate to realize what their dream come true. We used to take, there was a time I passed through even the boat, through river. So by the time we take 2 days, 3 days to reach Bamenda. But for now, 4 hours you are in Bamenda. So it's very rare. I leave here and go to Way, come back the very day. So I believe it is good now. It is.
Those are the road users in Bamenda, northwest region of the country, and it is not all merry for users or the drivers that are plying the Bamenda-Mamfe highway. Those who are plying, particularly the Bamenda-Ekok route, are calling on the contractors to hasten the road tarring exercise. Their worry is the bad state of the Mamfe-Ekok road, which they say even gets worse after a heavy downpour. Farmers have equally complained about the difficulties they face on daily basis in transporting farm produce to the market. Another problem they say, or the problem they have raised, is by the drivers. They are saying that they are complaining about the over 14 police checkpoints on the road, which to them is a huge barrier on their day-to-day activities. They were speaking to our Bamenda-based correspondent who was in that part of Cameroon. And also in the interview which comes up next, some of the users of the Bamenda-Ekok highway are expressing their worries or their day-to-day worries. They spoke as well to Engineer Edmond.
During the rainy season, everything is completely bad. No way. Look at me now. I'm an woman. Look at me. Just repairing the road alone. Nobody to help. But after the Chinese people say they can do anything. They are doing nothing for us. So we're out of track now. No, during the rainy season, even no feeding for us. Scarcity of food. No food for everybody around the area. Even children coming back from holidays, no way. With them, they said it is under road construction, but yet nothing is going on. One big road now, nothing but road first.
Now we take you back to Limbe Southwest region of the country. The senior divisional officer for FACO subdivision, or FACO division rather, has outrightly told divisional delegates to ensure that they consult the hierarchy before taking any decision. Zhang Trua was speaking during the installation ceremony of some newly appointed divisional delegates in that part of Cameroon. A Limbe-based correspondent Davison Maimo has the details of that report.
The installation speech from the senior divisional officer for FACO, Zhang Trua, sounded more like a warning to the delegate and service head.
All delegates who have been put on leave must propose the interim to the senior divisional officer for a certain note to decide to ascertain it. You are not authorized to nominate them yourself by serving note. All posting for personnel within the division for non-commissioned staff is the exclusive competence of the senior divisional officer on the proposition of the competent delegate.
The SDO equally used the occasion to remind the delegate and service head of the task that lies ahead of them.
Every divisional delegate has its own missions and they have its own specificity. So I emphasize some specificity of our division related to the situation on the field.
Some delegates who preferred to be anonymous said the instructions from the senior divisional officer is contradictory with instructions from their regional boss, who have made them to understand that certain information and activity remains the internal affairs of the delegation and the ministry at large, as instructed by their minister. But in its totality, the ceremony is considered very important, mostly to newly appointed delegate and service head who are serving in this capacity for their very first time.
That does it for this segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. Thanks indeed, viewers, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We are going to be talking about the crisis that has been taking place, or the unrest that has been taking place in Egypt. Today saw the installation of the interim president, that was the Chief of Justice of the Constitutional Court in Egypt, that was installed as interim president after Mohamed Morsi was ousted from power. That was since last evening. And today we have as guest a barrister at law. Good evening, Barrister Phillips Ndikum, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. I'm privileged.
Like I indicated, we invited you here within the context of the crisis that has been plaguing Egypt for months, days now. And before we talk about the crisis news, there's another striking information that took place in Cameroon, that is few hours ago. The National Football Federation, that is FECAFOOT, has so far been banned from all international sporting activities. That follows a decree or a decision that was handed down today by the World Football Governing Body, FIFA, suspending the National Football Federation, FECAFOOT, from all international activities, like we said in the course of this newscast. What is your immediate reaction?
Well, my immediate reaction is very simple. Cameroon has to respect the rule of law. Cameroon has to respect, in an independent way, the way international institutions are run in this country. Otherwise, we are always going to run into troubled waters. And do not forget, Cameroon has to understand we are in a global village running by international rules and not by rules that have plagued and destroyed this country if we are not careful forever. We must change course, we must change route, we must enhance the way we look at what is happening around so that we can also enhance the way we look at the rule of law. As I've always said, the rule of law is the most important commodity this century. Any country that doesn't like it, any country that doesn't build schools that understand that so that the children can start learning what is the rule of law from very, very tender ages, will run into troubled waters.
An indication that you saw this coming, it looks like you are not surprised at all.
No, I'm not. You see, Cameroon has always, instead they don't proact, they always react. Well, we had a problem at hand a while ago. The president of FECAFOOT was accused of embezzlement in another company. It is said that that embezzlement took place over so many years. I think FIFA found that funny indeed. So Cameroon should learn from this to understand that matters have to be treated urgently, but they cannot infringe the international community rule of law. That cannot be tolerated. If that has been done before, it cannot be tolerated anymore.
So the issue of the rule of law is the principal reason as to why, or one of the reasons that might have provoked FIFA to pass on such a drastic.
Of course, we saw the Prime Minister, with all due respect to his office and to himself, intervening. We saw government officials meddling into FECAFOOT affairs, and I think FIFA frowned, and they have frowned loudly. So I think that is a message, that hard message that has been sent, and I hope Cameroon learned a lesson from that. They cannot meddle. FECAFOOT has to be run independent, in spite of it being running from Cameroon.
Yeah, because the Article 13 of FIFA rightly states that it should be run without any external influence. Actually, like I earlier indicated, Barrister, we called you up within the context of the unrest that has been plaguing Egypt in the Middle East for months now. And so far, the President Mohamed Morsi, that has been in power barely 12 months, has been ousted from power. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Well, you see, we started with the rule of law, and the same thing is happening here. He was brought into power by a popular uprising. We hope democracy will come, but don't forget, democracy is a trick that has to be learned from a very tender age. Egypt had been run through, a strong man for 30 years, and I think to learn the tricks of democracy in 12 months is too short. But I know the international community is accusing the new dispensation that has been put in Egypt, but I think if you look carefully, I saw it coming. You cannot have a country where people should think that one religion has to rule over the other. That is the price we are paying, and I think the only way to check this is to go back many years and start teaching the children in Egypt and everybody who is involved in the legal process how to respect the rule of law. I think what has happened is hasty, and if the rule of law does not take root, it wouldn't take root now. In Turkey is the example where democracy was introduced in 1923, but it took so many years to take root, and it's just of recent, with relationship with Europe, intensive relationship, that we are having a democratic process. It will take time, but we need to start educating the people. We need to start making the schools understand that students have to be taught how to work together and not just to dominate. Otherwise, the problem will not go away. The rule of law.
Like many political analysts are saying that it's too early for a leader that was put in power not up to 1 year now, and he's already been dethroned for a military coup.
Well, you see, I think I should just take an example in Cameroon. Who are those being prepared to take over the leadership of tomorrow? The same thing applies to Egypt. Where was Morsi? Who is he? He comes from nowhere. So I think that the democratic tradition warrants that people should be put in position and are trained. They should be ministers, senators, and all those things so that they are prepared for power. What happened in this case is that Morsi hastily decided to put people around to protect his own center. It's very dangerous, and I think that yesterday I was delighted to read that a barrister in Nigeria single-handedly went to court to challenge the president of Goodluck Jonathan by stating in court that the appointment he made in 2008, the military appointments, were unconstitutional because he didn't send them to the Senate for to overlook and then make recommendations. And what happened, the High Court said, Mr. Goodluck Jonathan, you are wrong. This time you are not lucky. And so all those appointments were cancelled. That is what we call a democratic institution. Morsi had done, to my estimation, maybe he had overhandedness, but I think the rule of law would have solved the problem. What they have done, we have said it's a popular uprising or a change of power, but I think the rule of law should reign.
Now the rule of law, as the much talked about rule of law by Barrister Philip Nzikom, is what the Chief Justice that was installed today has been preaching so far. He has promised to put in place the rule of law and also take the interest of the entire population at heart. Do you see this coming? Do you think that is going to bring forth the changes?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Now we have a problem on the ground. The change came too sudden. Now we realize that getting into, for example, marriage, you have to feed the home, you have to take care of your children. So that revolution had to take care of the children and the new ideas that came into place. How do you control democratic institutions with a heavy man or with people who are not used to the democratic process? That is a problem. I think it is a massive educational process that has to be put in place. It has to come with people reconciling themselves and understanding that we need to dialogue in society, and the way Egypt is socially constructed makes that, I think, adventurous.
An indication that it would take a long time for peace to reign in Egypt. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, they are wearing the shoes, and they say, and they know how it's hurting. They will have to reconcile themselves, but I don't think any leader who comes and feels that the Muslim religion has to win over the Christian religion is bound to win. Also, a Christian who comes and thinks Jesus Christ has to win over Muhammad is unlikely to make things happen. What we need is a consensus where people understand that they have to live hand in hand, work together despite their religious color, and understand that they should work for Egypt and not for a religion or for sort of a nepotism, sort of division to rule over the masses. That cannot happen. It cannot work.
And now, Barrister, just to find out from you, some observers of the political scene are seeing a manipulation, some sort of manipulation from some external forces. Do you look at it?
No, I don't think so. I just think it's a natural evolution. I just think, you see in the case of...
accusing fingers are pointing at international, some foreign countries like America and France, that they are actually having, that is what some political analysts are saying, they are accusing manipulation, some sort of manipulation from some external powers.
Well, I think if I give my impression, it's most likely that I will be criticized as having a hand on it. I saw it coming in the sense that the leader was not prepared. I saw it coming in that they didn't have a democratic institution. I think that what should happen is putting in place, because when even Morsi came, they are now accusing the military of making a coup. He already made a coup. He made a coup on the rule of law. He started dismissing judges, he started suspending judges, and he wanted the Muslim Brotherhood to control every spectrum of Egyptian life.
Could that not be what foreign powers might be fighting in Egypt? Because those are some of the things that the American president has been fighting for years now as well.
No, the American president has sounded a bit pessimistic. He said, he's worried about what is happening in Egypt. And I think that what we should understand is that the military in Egypt is what you call the military-industrial complex. It is a very, very heavy machinery, and you cannot go against it. I think we need a leader who is prepared to work with them in a certain way. We cannot have a leader who does not compromise. Otherwise, we're going to have this happen again.
And now, just to find out from you, Barrister, how strategic, of course, is Egypt? Because we see some external powers coming in. We cannot say that this revolution is going on just single-handedly. It is taking place only in Egypt, and that is, it concerns only the Egyptians. We are seeing other foreign powers that are coming in, like you talked about America coming in or expressing maybe discontentment on the unrest that has been plaguing the said country for months now. So how strategic is Egypt in the Middle East?
Let me put it this way. The body, the whole world today is like the body. The body, the main frame is America. The hand, let's put it this way, maybe it's Egypt. The other hand, maybe it's Israel. The face, maybe it's Russia. The hair now, you have Cameroon and all the like. So what is happening? You are right. When the hand, which is Egypt, hurts, the body hurts. So that is the way you have to take it. But I do not think there's direct influence. We in Africa, we should stop behaving like children. We must become responsible. We must grow up. In this very country, Cameroon, it is sad that I'm talking about Egypt. We have the same problems here. When are we going to grow up? When are we going to invest in the infrastructure that is going to embody the rule of law, that is going to respect what all these institutions incarnate? So we cannot keep pointing finger. We must go back to the drawing board and make the necessary investments so that we are sure that our children and grandchildren can inherit a culture that can go beyond us, so that we stop pointing fingers to one another. It is an international community, and the problem is the international community cannot allow people to behave like when there was no internet, like when there was no television. So I think that we must grow up and make the necessary investment so that we stop intervening and complaining. So I think that is the position. The rule of law is the most precious commodity this century. And if you do not invest accordingly, you are not going to enjoy it. You're going to keep finger pointing, and I think in the short run, it solves the problems. In the long run, it only creates a cancer that is going to auto-destroy that entity.
And for the crisis that has been taking place in Egypt for some time now, many analysts there are also maybe decrying a weakness, some sort of weakness on the part of the African Union that is seemingly doing nothing as far as putting an end to the crisis that has been going on for a very long time now is concerned.
You're right, but again, it goes again to our social construct. In my book, I talk about African unity because I feel that we are balkanized enough, and so we cannot grow independently. So we must try to unite. Africa must unite in their banking prowess, unite in their resources, unite in their industrial capacity, so that we can generate enough resources to build that luxury of rule of law we need. Poor people cannot rule of law. Rich people can.
Thank you so much, Barrister Phillips Nzikum, for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Thank you very much. I'm privileged again.
To talk about the Chief Justice or the ongoing crisis in Egypt after the Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court was today installed as interim president of Egypt in the Middle East. And we have come to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. We talked about the decision that was handed down today by FIFA, the World Football Governing Body, that has till further notice suspended the Cameroonian Football Federation registration from all international sporting activities. To further notice, like I earlier indicated, that does it for this edition of the news on Equinox Television. We thank you so much for your keen attention. Meantime, have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs. Good evening to you once again.